we'll start with NBA Most Improved Player. And I will start by saying this. It was nice over the last few weeks to not be trapped in the dungeon Tuesday night and not leaving here, but to go ahead and break down NFL awards. It's been fun. I've been able to actually get out of there and see the light. But we're back. We're back in the lab, and we were back in the lab last night on some of the Winter Sports Awards. And the Most Improved Player for the NBA, it's similar to Coach of the Year, similar to Comeback Player of the Year in the NFL. It's an interpretation award. That's why I love betting into it, because it's not as obvious as MVP, where we all kind of know what checks out, like in the NFL and also in the NBA and in Major League Baseball. Everyone has cracked the MVP code, and that's more so just trying to get ahead of the market. In those markets, these ones, though, you might find some inefficiencies. And why I love Most Improved Player this year is that, once again, with this award, we have a very polarizing favorite. Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons, former number 1 overall pick, is your favorite over at BetMGM, minus 130 to win MIP. And he's very polarizing because you could listen to one piece of content to where everyone's saying, hey, Cade Cunningham is awesome. He's playing at an all-NBA level. Look how awesome the Detroit Pistons are playing. Like, they look like they're going to make the play-in and potentially make the NBA playoffs for the first time in forever. And then on another podcast, it's, well, Cade Cunningham is above this award. Cade Cunningham is a former number 1 overall pick, and this was expected of Cade Cunningham. And in fact, yes, he's made an improvement, but he hasn't made the biggest improvement. It's so polarizing, and when you have a polarizing candidate who's now odds on, I think that's a market that you want to be betting into. Now, the next question is, who's that next person that you want to be betting, or persons in this instance? Because I think there's 2 guys that you want to be going at, but I'll go through a few of them right now, some of the contenders that I think can challenge Cade Cunningham and potentially win this award. So the first guy, Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers, he's at 5-1. He has leveled up. The scoring isn't your typical level up, but like the overall game and how Mobley's been playing has been the improvement. Like, he's shooting more 3-pointers. Kenny Atkinson has unlocked another level of Evan Mobley. He's likely to be All-NBA. Good chance he's a first-time All-Star. Cade Cunningham has a decent chance to be a first-time All-Star, but I think Mobley, I would think he's more of a favorite to be an All-Star than Cunningham, since it's a little bit more tricky to do it as a guard. But Mobley has a chance to be an All-Star, and Mobley's improvement has been directly tied to the Cleveland Cavaliers having this juggernaut first half of the season. The next guy, Tyler Hero, a guy that we've talked about already on You Better You Bet earlier this season. He's at plus 600. I think Hero, like, he's your traditional sort of most improved player candidate. I think that we just need to get more clarity on this Jimmy Butler situation, because Butler's back. I mean, I don't know if he's going to continue to be pouting or whatever. The Heat seem to think that they can kind of go forward with Jimmy Butler. Trade deadline's coming up in a few weeks during Super Bowl week.
What do you think's going to happen?
I was going to ask Matt that actually in the next segment, but my guess...
There's no way he's still a Miami Heat player.
Yeah,
because, like, dude,
that's my
like, what
guess,
was the quote?
but-
What was the quote at the end of last week? It was like an anonymous player, like, Jimmy hasn't gone full Jimmy yet. Like, remember what he did in Minnesota? Like, it's like the stuff of legend, and if he decides to do that, he's going to make it so uncomfortable he's going to force his way out of there. That's my opinion on what's going to happen with Jimmy Butler.
But isn't Pat Riley like enough of a psycho to be like, I'll stare you down in this contest? Like,
I don't
feel like
think so.
Pat Riley
I
might
actually
be,
don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so. Because it's like,
we'll
it just reaches a point, and we'll talk, and I want you to continue. It just reaches a point where, like, Riley, I get it, is like kind of a psycho in like a cool way. But he also, I don't think he wants to punt the season, like, to prove a point.
No, he wants to win. Yeah, he wants to win. Yeah, as he should want to win. And like, yeah, and maybe ultimately, like, deadlines make deals. Super Bowl week, we might be hanging out during that, and like all of a sudden, hey, Jimmy Butler's now traded from Miami Heat to like Team X. Maybe it's the Warriors or whoever. But the Tyler Hero situation, like, I do think that he's an appealing guy to bet on. I'm just waiting right now to get more clarity on what's going to happen with Jimmy Butler. And then the last guy, and this is a guy that like kind of made a surge early in the season, cooled off a little bit, but has since now gotten a lot more attention, and that's Clippers guard Norman Powell, who is not your traditional MIP guy, since like he's like north of 30 now. Like, you don't typically get like the late career most improved player season. Usually it happens like year 3, 4, or 5. But Norman Powell has been awesome, and the narrative is starting to build that he's been the guy that's helped replace the Paul George production, with Paul George now being in Philadelphia. Norman Powell has helped the Clippers stay afloat. And in fact, the Clippers now with Kawhi Leonard back are playing some really good basketball to where they're only like 3 games back in the loss column of the 2 seed. The Clippers have been really, really good over the last like 4 to 5 weeks now. So of those 3 guys, the 2 that I would want to bet, because the Hero situation is a little bit strange, I think right now betting Mobley and Powell as a pair is a pretty good strategy to try to take on Cade Cunningham. You're pretty much trying to make like a not Cade Cunningham bet. And I think at least right now, maybe later on, like in March, everyone says they want to do Cade Cunningham, and at that point you can eject out of this stuff and you can cover your bases. But I think right now, it's not like a solidified consensus opinion to where Cade Cunningham should be minus 130. I even saw a tweet, Nick, earlier this week where a Pistons fan was saying, Cade Cunningham's been awesome, but I don't really think of him as a most improved player guy. Like, that's a Pistons fan saying it. So I think there's so much around this to where I could see the voters, and with Cleveland having the season that they're having, rewarding someone like Evan Mobley because his improvement has directly tied to a team that's likely to win 65 plus games this season. So for me, Mobley 5-1, Norman Powell plus 650, bet him as a pair and take on Cade Cunningham.
Can I just play, and like, you know way more about this than me, so I'm not saying you're wrong at all. I just want to play devil's advocate with like the Cade being like too good, number one overall pick thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, John Morant did win this award a couple years ago as the second overall pick. So look, like, that's not me disagreeing with Femi. I'm just doing my job as a talk show host
proper
to
context.
say,
yes.
Like what would you say to people that would, like me, that would bring that point up?
I would say that was met with so much flack that I think that if the voters were presented with another option, they would go to the other option than going with the John Morant pick, and like, which in this instance would be Cade Cunningham, especially with Cade Cunningham being a first overall pick. Like, and like his statistical improvement has been, it's noticeable, but it's not like so great because he's been a guy who's averaged like 22 points per game earlier in his career. Now he's at 24 points per game this season. So it's not like he went from like 20 to like 26. He went from 22 to 24, and the team is winning, which is why it's getting more attention now. But I would say that if presented with another option, which I think they are being presented with one, with Mobley and Powell, they would go towards that more than they would with Cade Cunningham.
I know that Femi wants to talk six-man. I actually don't know who he likes in this market. I'm guessing you want to beat Peyton Pritchard, the favorite in the market from the Celtics, who's minus 190 at BetMGM. I don't know who you like, though. And maybe you do like Pritchard. I don't know. What do we want to do with six-man of the year?
It's the latter. I think Peyton Pritchard's actually a little bit valuable right now. Like now that we're no longer like minus 250, minus 300, I would put Pritchard's chances of winning this award at like 65%, which does not mean that it's a lock. It does not mean that he has to be the guy that's the winner, but at the minus 190 price, like he puts up the production, he scores, he's at 14, 15 points per game. The team is awesome. Like, even though they have their lulls, like, they're going to win 58 plus games. They're the Celtics. They're going to win a bunch of games. They're going to be a top 3 seed. That is the formula for winning this award. And the other guys that are chasing him, DeAndre Hunter being one of them, the Hawks are like, they're a good story, but they're hovering around like 500. The Hawks are like going to win 46 games, 47 games this year, like at the peak. Like, I don't think that's going to get you sixth man of the year. Santi Aldama, the Memphis Grizzlies, he's plus 800. I know that's a person that he's seen his price drop quite a bit. He scores like 13 points per game. And the Grizzlies have so many mouths to feed to where, like, I don't think that he's going to all of a sudden like get this sort of like, I guess, grassroots momentum sort of campaign to be sixth man of the year. The guy that if you want to take a long shot, like, and like want to have some fun, would it be like someone like a Malik Beasley at 25-1? But even that, like, the Pistons, they're not going to win a ton of games. And a lot of the conversation about Detroit has been about Cade Cunningham. It hasn't been about what the bench unit is doing and what Malik Beasley's doing, because Malik Beasley, he's scoring a lot of points. He's like at that 15, 16 points per game, but the team success isn't quite there. So for me, like, at minus 190, it's not the greatest price to be betting into when the ticket doesn't cash until May, but I think that Peyton Pritchard's more likely to win this award than the price indicates. And as long as he stays healthy and the Celtics continue to win at the clip that they're winning in, I think he's just going to win the award at the end of the day.